Parenting. It's one of the most important undertakings in anyone's life. And it's much more a marathon than a sprint. So when the road to parenting success becomes a little bit bumpy, it's nice to have someone to turn to. Parenting coach Kumari Ghafoor-Davis is just that person. Welcome, Kumari. How are you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
Good, good. Now, Kumari, can you please tell us why it's so important for parents to instill good self-esteem in their children?
Well, for one, the obvious, everyone needs self-esteem in order to deal with life's challenges. So as a parent, they're always the first in defense to make sure the children have good self-esteem, feel good about themselves, making sure they feel capable, making sure they feel good about who they are, what they're about, what their morals and value system is. So it's very important for parents to instill all of that in their children.
So it sets up more than just, oh, feel good about yourself. It's literally your morals, your moral fabric. Now, what behaviors do children display when they have low self-esteem?
A lot of times children display, especially when they're young, because it should start when they're young. Parents shouldn't start instilling self-esteem when children are 10. You know, when they're very young, including infants. You know, just that thing of when children first start to walk and parents are saying, go ahead, walk, get up those stairs, and they get to the top of the stairs and children are very, very happy that they did it. You know, parents have to make sure that they're instilling in their children, you can do it, that capability, you're going to be good at this. And if they struggle, helping them with that struggle so that they can get through it. So one of the things that children can sometimes display is that they'll start to feel down about themselves, talk down about themselves, not feel good about who they are. Sometimes children don't do well in school. You know, as they get older, they may show issues of promiscuity, you know, drug and alcohol abuse. So those are some of the concerns that parents may see.
Now, if the parent does everything the textbook is correct in terms of taking care of their child and instilling self-esteem, but they still seem quite sad and down on themselves, what can parents do to address children who, despite their best efforts, still have low self-esteem?
Well, for one, as parents, we have to make sure that we're paying attention to when our children are struggling. When I say struggling, I mean when they're struggling in school, struggling socially, when they find that their child is not necessarily getting something in maybe a math class. You know, maybe that not necessarily they don't like the teacher, but maybe they're just not catching all the information. So just making sure that they're paying attention to their child and seeing if they're struggling, getting them help. You know, being open to that help, not thinking it's their fault that that child isn't getting something, and assisting that child through that challenge.
And it's bullying. It's a huge topic. It sounds like what you're saying now, it's not all from bullying. It can be something as simple as not understanding algebra as well as the kid sitting next to you. And is the tutoring really all it takes, or is there something more? What if you do all the things, they're improving in class, but they still seem quite down?
Well, for one, parents can possibly, you know, bring in, you know, a therapist into the home, you know, get that child help. Sometimes children struggle in ways that parents don't even realize that they're struggling. You know, sometimes children see that, you know, the person beside them is getting it and they're not, and they're like, okay, well, why can't I get it? What's wrong with me? You know, so even just encouraging them, empowering them, making them feel I can do this, and if they're struggling still, getting them assistance, even getting them help in, you know, a therapist or a mental health professional, because parents sometimes are afraid of doing that, feeling like there's something wrong with their child, when in actuality that child may just need someone to talk to.
Very simply. Now, obviously, I think back on middle school and high school, and I think of Mean Girls and stuff like that. Personally, I don't have any children at the moment, but going through something like that, let's say someone is popular or good at sports and everything seems to be going great, but their self-esteem is still low. How do you address that?
You know, it's very interesting because even as children, we all have struggled. I'm quite sure everyone has seen something, you know, whether they saw bullying or whether they were bullied, or whether it was just a point of I don't feel anyone understands me. You know, kids struggle all the time. It's up to parents to make sure that when they're in that struggle, that they're telling them you're still good. There's still nothing wrong with you. You're still fine. You know, and if they do find there's some challenges, they have to make sure that they're even going out and there's a lot of groups online that parents can become meet-up parents. So they can go out, they can have other children, they can meet up with other children, talk with other children, have friends outside of the school, getting them involved in extracurricular activities like dancing and singing, you know, other things that kids can get involved in. So just making the child feel confident and being out of the box, because sometimes just being around other kids makes them feel uncomfortable.
And finally, is there a fine line between giving a kid too much confidence? What if they then have a false sense of confidence?
Right. And that's what you want to avoid. False sense of confidence doesn't work. We probably know that by seeing people on television, right? Like sometimes we can see people who were like, you know, they're probably not as confident as they claim to be. Trying to make sure they don't have a false sense of confidence is make sure that we're holding them accountable, making them feel responsible for their actions, you know, making them feel like, you know, moral set, integrity, doing the right thing when no one's looking. That has a lot to do with that false sense of confidence, because unfortunately we are in a world where sometimes it's very superficial. So kids have to know that I have to be who I am and be confident in who I am regardless of anyone else. Now this is all incredible information, and you put it all down in a book for us. Can you tell us the book and the title here? We'll hold this up for everyone to see. The new book, and this gives you everything about confidence for children, correct? Yes, it does. I talk in the book about strategies for parents to raise children who are confident, academically and social responsible, you know, understanding who they are, feeling good about who they are, and parents can definitely make sure that they're not putting their children down, not talking down to them, not calling them names, you know, all those different strategies to help parents raise children who are socially
fantastic. And in the interim, if they want to check out your website, they can go to
www.optimisticexpectations.org or www.coachkumari.com.
CoachKumari.com, and we'll have that all up on our website as well.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you for joining us.